Heather kind of draws us back in.
I know. Okay. First. Hi, I'm Heather Park. I'm here with my co-host, Michael Hoffman. We're from the Santa Fe Institute of Mediumship and Spiritual Studies. And we're here to interview Kevin Horton today about his upcoming class, which is called the Healing Skills Development Class. It's going to be an 8-week course starting on April 20th. It's a 2-hour class every Tuesday evening that starts at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. It's going to be a consecutive 8-week course. So thanks so much for being here, first of all. And Kevin, we'd like you to just take a minute and talk to us a little bit. While your class is called the Healing Skills Development Class, it's actually about healing skills in the spirit world. So can you tell us a little bit about the difference of, like, say, me trying to heal somebody and me putting my emphasis on healing, and then what the difference of that? And then what you're going to be teaching is more about me as a student learning how to work with the spirit world in order to heal someone, and kind of removing my ego and my ideas and designs on healing someone else. Can you talk to us a little bit about the difference of those two things?
Well, the first one you're actually talking about is ego-driven.
Yeah.
So, like, oh, I can do that. I can fix that.
Right.
So I'm trying to fix something on a finite understanding, and it doesn't always work. So, one of the things when people do that kind of work is they always say, oh, I feel so drained.
Yes. It's tiring.
Oh, or their pain and whatever. Well, that's ego involvement.
Okay.
Okay. I want to demystify that.
Great.
And I want to take the ego out of it, because it's not about the healer. It's about healing the recipient.
Okay.
Okay. So the healing when you're working on the spiritual part, you're actually blending with the spirit world. And what we forget is they're far more intelligent than you or I. They see everything, but they see it through the lens of love.
Nice.
We see it sometimes through the lens of our own emotions,
right.
Our own perceptions. And so it takes the responsibility out of me doing anything, and puts the responsibility in the hands of really the physician that's in the spirit world.
So are you talking about, like, people that are dead? Spirit world, is my aunt who's passed away, is she going to come in and heal me? Are we talking about a team of people? Are we talking about different? Can you explain that a little bit? When you say spirit physician, what is that?
Well, I mean, what I'm talking about is, it's probably not Aunt Mabel that's doing it.
Okay.
Or your friend Betty or Mark.
Okay.
But it is someone that's skilled in that particular area that needs correction. They have a lot of skilled spirits, people who have passed on. And not only have they done work in the spirit world for a number of years, but they were also probably very good at what they did here in this world. And so they are there to work on many levels. So let's say, for instance, maybe your emotions have to be worked on. Maybe, like I, mentioned before, maybe ignorance has to be worked on, your thinking. Maybe there's a misunderstanding about the belief systems that you hold that are interfering in the healing. We're indoctrinated, we're programmed to believe that to be religious is to be untouchable in many ways. But it's really, we find in religion that it's a contradiction, because we can be very cruel.
So in your class, as a student, You're not talking about spirituality as a religion. You're talking about the students learning how to identify with the spirits on the other side that are there to help them as healers.
Yes, I want to help them to become the healer,
Okay.
but not just a healer. I want them to become a clear vessel for the healer.
And how do we do that?
Well, we have to do our own work. It's like, we have to rotor our own interior in a
Oh boy.
way, and that means being very honest as to our being very honest about who we are and what we're not really. Okay, what's real and what isn't real. It's interior work. It's changing old patterns. It's developing kind of like new neuron connections for a better life.
Mhm.
And part of what I want to do is also introduce spiritual concepts that will help
Great.
support this, so that the person who is wanting to become will become. Okay, and it might not be all all at once. There's that whole thing. The first shall be last, and the last shall be first. We can't judge what the next person, what their journey is. Our journey is separate from anybody else's. So someone might grow very quickly, and someone might grow very slowly.
Mhm.
Kevin, I have a question that I think is at least important to me, and I'm assuming it might be also for a lot of our viewers. And that is, what is the role of the higher self in healing, or our divine presence? Obviously, our higher self is the repository of all love and wisdom, because it's connected to source, or all that is, which refers to, quote unquote, to the term God.
Right.
So what is the role of the higher self, or our divine presence, that plays a role
Well,
in?
okay, so I believe this role is actually, this is where the everything has to be peeled away from this life. Okay,
Can you
all
explain
the
that a little bit?
yeah, let's say something like, if we all make choices in this life. Every moment is a choice, and some choices aren't always the highest choice or the best choice, but they're a choice, and they might set us on a path that may not be to our highest good. Okay, so we have to clear that glass that's kind of all kind of dirty, and remove it, so that we can have that real strong connection with the higher self or divine self. To know that we are infinite beings, first of all, but we're having this finite experience so that we can add to the journey of our self for the next incarnations. So we're like a repository, we're adding through these different lifetimes experiences. And I believe that connection also with the higher self, God is also experiencing it through us.
Now,
So
when you talk about this peeling away experience and kind of getting more clear about how to connect with the higher self, what are some techniques that you're going to be doing in class that will help us understand how to become this more clear vessel for spirit?
well, I want to introduce maybe some visualization technique.
Yeah.
Okay, to help cleanse, but also to empower them at the same time.
Right.
And this is like what we talked about before. There's this building power. So what is that? I mean, building power is like, it's like a qigong thing.
Yes.
Where we're building our power, and then the spirit world can blend with us even more perfectly.
Okay.
Okay, as our power increases, they can do more work through us.
And we'll be able to feel that, like as a beginning student, you will give us like clues and kind of like these hints of what we might experience. Like, what does that feel like if I'm building power and I'm feeling maybe like some of my physical self dropping and my spiritual self dropping in? Might I feel heat? Or, I mean, is someone going to come and talk to me, or is it a little bit more like subtle?
Well, it's going to be different for everybody.
Okay.
Everybody's going to experience it differently. Some people might experience it as heat.
Yeah.
Some might as tingling. Some might feel a deepening that takes place at a different level. But there is definitely, what I want to achieve for the student, help them to open the heart.
Yeah.
The field of the heart, which is like Michael was asking about the higher self. This connects us to the higher self. It connects us back into source. It is that part which is really unconditional love. And I find that the field of the heart is probably the greatest part of our existence.
Yeah.
Healing can take place even at the atomic level. Maybe there's no emotions that need to be, or blockages that need to be removed, but we can touch the atomic level at the quantum level and make changes there.
So
Piggybacking on that.
kind of yeah, Michael, you had an interesting question earlier. We were kind of talking earlier about this idea of the remote healing versus hands-on healing. And you were kind of interested in the physics of how remote healing is different than hands-on healing.
Right, and yeah, exactly. And I know that physics explains a lot of this. It really makes it very simple. I don't think that there is, as a matter of fact, I don't think there's a separation between spirituality and physics. They're one and the same. And one complements the other. So how does that work, Kevin? If there's a person in New York City and you're in Santa Fe, well, they're going to probably say, well, hey, wait a minute, you're way over there and I'm over here. How's that going to work? So can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, oftentimes it actually works better.
And so and generally the answer would be, wait a minute, how?
Well, I know it's because there's no time or distance. We're generally just we're when we look at who we really are, we're a light body. We're space. We're connected to, what I almost look at is that if we, like I mentioned before, if we have 10 trillion cells in us, some have more or less, each cell holds 10 trillion atoms. How many photons is that then? I have no idea, but that's a bazillion photons within our body. And that means that we're just light. That photon holds the same energy in the universe from this very first conception all the way through. It has all the information, past, present, and future.
So does that conform to what Einstein said, that everything is emptiness and form is condensed emptiness?
Yes, absolutely.
So really, we're talking about energy and information being exchanged at quantum level. Is that right?
At quantum level.
At a physics level, so to speak.
Right. So, I mean, you can, one of the things I think I might do with the students also, because it's kind of fun, is to help them see if they can figure out what the illness of someone is from a long distance. Okay. And then diagnose them.
So we'll be honing skills as to how to understand what illness might look like. Might it have a heat signature? Might it look like a certain color? Like if perhaps I had like a heart condition, then you will help us learn how to really connect with how to, maybe each individual person's a little different, but like if I see, maybe I'll be able to see something around the heart. So we'll focus on different techniques of how to do that.
Yeah, so each person is going to do it a little bit different because some might be clairvoyant, some might, be feelers, clairsentient, and some might receive an audit by their, hearing it. So what the person has, and they might not see or feel. Okay,
Mhm.
But the trick is actually to get everybody to feel, see, and maybe hear. Okay. So, it's also teaching the healer how to learn to use what they have and to grow in it and to expand out of it into different areas.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because, as you know, when you're working with groups of people, some people will say, well, I saw this and I saw that and I saw this. And some people might say, well, gee, I never saw that, but I felt this.
Right. So we're
Yeah.
learning a new language basically because clairsentience and being able to maybe like feel something. So that might mean that like if Michael has something going on in his shoulder, I might actually physically feel like in the sensations in my body, like there may be a tingling here or a warmth here that will alert me to know that that's what's happening with him. Whereas a clairvoyant might see red here or a color or like a pulsing or something different. So
Right.
actually learning a new language.
Yes. And, what's interesting, I'm going to pull back to the clairsentient because they have abilities which they probably aren't aware of to really
Yes.
connect to the spirit world.
Yes.
So, and in the spirit world, a lot of those people, because maybe down the road, as we grow into different segments of not in this particular one, but in another class, where this, they can learn what it's like to do more trance healing.
Okay.
And then look at, like invite someone in that, or someone comes in from the spirit world, and the recipient knows who that person is. They might have invited them in,
Mm-hmm.
and then the healer has to feel them, describe them if they can,
Mm-hmm.
tell what their illness was, how did they die or pass on, things like this, and have them blend with them so that they
Okay.
can get this information.
So am I right in thinking that most people have more than one of these things? Because I think it's a misconception that A, you have to be born with this, and B, you may only have one of these things. Like I'm only clairvoyant, I can only see. That is a misconception, is it not?
Yeah, I believe it's a misconception. I think that everybody can learn.
Yes.
Okay. And then other types of other types of clairs will come in. You might
Yes.
smell, taste, whatever,
Over time.
over time as you
Yeah.
develop and grow.
Practice, develop.
Yeah. I think
That's
practice,
important.
Heather, practice is the key.
Great.
I have another question, Kevin. So, okay, so we have all these people on in spirit, and some of them are specialized in healing than others. However, they all work as a collective, I can assume, in healing, correct?
Mhm.
Why don't we include, or do we exclude the higher beings, like the angelic beings, the masters, like Jesus, like Buddha, like Krishna? Are they involved in this too? Or do we exclude them? Because it seems like they would also be participating in some form or another, right?
Good question, Michael. I have no idea, but
You gave me I had a wonderful healing experience with you rather, about 3 years ago in your office. And it was palpable, the energies that I felt, and it was transformative. And you said it very clearly, the presence of Jesus is here.
okay.
And he wants you to know that you are brothers, you are his brother. And
Okay. Well, let me read. I probably spoke so too soon. I never really think about those things, to be quite
Right.
frank. And I don't call on them if they, obviously you had, your soul was developed enough to have this relationship. Okay. It was clear enough. And so it becomes, something real that you can respond to.
So in terms of the
I don't-
needing healing, that angelic force might come forward because it's needed for the
angelic force might
person and that specific time period and that specific healing. It may not happen every time, but
Mm.
it does happen when you've developed enough, you know who is there, and you're able to say, this person, this angelic being, this helper is here. And that may not have meant anything to Kevin, but for the healing of Michael, that may have had a huge significance. Is that right?
Yeah, which it
As
did.
a healer, you may not always know what the purposes of those angelic beings is necessarily. They may not tell you because it's not for you to know.
Yeah, you may not know, but the energy is palpable. And I'm like,
energy is palpable.
when I was having that experience, Kevin, he was almost in tears because he felt the love. Actually, that was coming from my mother, my biological mother. And I said, "Why are you teared up?" It says, "I can feel the love from your mother is so strong," and I felt it. And I was very impressed by that because I never, well, first of all, you're talking about Jesus, then all of a sudden my mother comes in. I go, okay, well, it's like they're working together and there is no separation in spirit. That's kind of like what I felt. And is that right, Kevin?
Yeah, I think also, Michael, what's coming to mind is, I don't think I really knew you that well. Did I know you that well? But anyway, I knew that
well enough.
well enough. Okay. But I know that you've had a lot of spiritual development in your life too.
Mhm.
You're a searcher. You have gone through the rabbit holes.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah.
And some that were not pleasant, and some that were really good. And and that's part of you. So you have this relationship, but not everybody has that relationship.
Right.
Or they're not aware of the relationship.
And
So I'm not going to say that Jesus can't come through, or Buddha, or whoever, but I do feel like if we're talking about the spirit world, you're going to pull in. There are specialists in different areas.
Yep.
And there are very high beings in different areas that will come in, whose names I might not even know.
Right.
But their presence,
it's not necessary to know their names.
Not necessary to know.
Right.
So, but the energy becomes so incredible. It's almost light filled.
Mm-hmm.
So can I just ask you another question? This is kind of random, but I know a lot of people have strong connections with animals. And I know this is not a course about healing in animals, but does this work that you're going to be teaching, can you use it on humans as well as like maybe an animal? Does it?
Why not?
Why not?
I'll tell you a little story. When I was young, so I had bought these goldfish for an arrangement that my uncle was doing for a party, and then they'd float, they'd go around the arrangement. So anyway, big huge glass bowl, and well, when it was over, he gives me back the fish, and I said, "Well, what am I going to do with these?"
Yep.
Because I traveled a lot, right? So I had these fish, and I'd be gone for a week or so, and then I'd come back later on. This is over a period of time, and the fish would be upside down. I'm going, oh my God, it died. I put my hand over the water, and the fish would start swimming, and it would be okay.
Yeah. Interesting. So you've clearly had healing abilities that you're aware of your whole life, but in order to take your class and to learn this, somebody can come in as a complete beginner. Like you don't ever have to have placed your hands on anyone, had any kind of religious experiences and healing. I mean, you can be completely new to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I think it might be a little bit more, maybe a little bit more challenging for the ones that have had some experience, because they're going to bring in their own stuff.
So like if I've trained in Reiki and I have all these designs on how healing is supposed to be, I might have to be that person that just puts that to the side and
Yeah.
opens up my heart and goes, this is a new technique, but it's also personal to me, right? It doesn't have to do with a 300-year-old Asian, training or something like that.
No, I think those who have had who have done other things and they've taken some classes, I want them to take their what they've learned and throw it in their toolbox.
Okay.
And just kind of keep it there and then learn something new. I think we have to move, how these things started, a lot of them started is because someone found a way, hey, if I do this, it works.
Right.
I think there's one, I did some work down at, I took some classes when I was younger down at Scripps, San Diego. And anyway, they wanted me to continue. I did it for my sister because I wanted her to get interested in something. She had some basic fears around religion, that this wasn't really right to do. So I thought, if we introduce a medical, something that's medical, her mind could wrap around it, because this is something that's being used in the hospitals by the nurses. And she liked it. It frightened her a little. Okay.
Yeah.
The spirit world was working through her. That's why it was new.
Yes.
And then it kind of it threatened her belief system as being maybe not good, evil or whatever. I'm not sure. And so, I was kind of a junkie. I thought, well, I'll just go ahead and finish it up. So I was in their last program, and it was a whole week of intensive work. And I'm not a person that does procedures very well, because when the spirit world's working, it's kind of like they don't have a flow chart.
Right.
You got to go to A to B to C, and
It's not logical.
No. And so I'm working with this nurse, and she was like, every time she walked around me, it was like this ice cold wind, and it was like, oh God, I didn't choose her, she chose me. I didn't want to choose her. I saw that I might be working with her, but I didn't really want to work with her. And but I'm glad I did, because and I finally said, okay, we've got to break through this chill. It was like this, it was a major blockage. I can't do what they want me to do. So I just tuned into the spirit world and started to do what they wanted me to do.
Right.
And then suddenly the woman jumps off the table. She's crying. And, and I already saw that she shouldn't go to Asia until she has a mammogram. But before I could say anything, she jumps off the table and starts crying. And she said, if you tell anybody, I'll be really upset. But I was raped.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, whoa. Well, her energy changed.
Yeah.
She became a hot poker after that.
Yeah.
Her energy now was hot because the chi was moving. The secret was out. And the healing took place at a deep level. And and I did share with her about, getting a mammogram before she went to live in Asia. And then I get this is the part that always kind of upsets me a little. I get a email from her saying, I went and I had a mammogram after you told me to get one, even though I had one just recently.
Yeah.
And I had a growth in there.
Yeah.
In my breast. So I had my breast removed, and I'm just going, because I think the body corrects itself if it puts it into almost like a tumor, where it's in liquid form, and then the body absorbs it back in, as I understand. So I didn't want her to go and have her breast removed,
Right.
But
that was her choice. That was her choice. And you, working with the spirit world, you're not diagnosing, you're
No, I'm not diagnosing.
Bringing things to the surface, and that was her experience and her choice, right? But it sounds like, this healing can happen at the physical level, it can happen at an emotional level, it can happen in a spiritual level. So, in learning how to work with the spirit world, we're going to be able to work on all those levels to help somebody, maybe at the physical level if they need that, or at an emotional level if there's some kind of trauma that's been long held within the system and the frame.
Yeah, and it sounds like that disclosure, her disclosure of being raped was actually the release of a blockage that was, it formed a blockage for the flow of chi and the healing energy.
Yeah.
Sounds like to me. Is that right?
Right. And what I was actually working on with her was actually her heart.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's
where the blockage was.
Right.
Wonderful. Well, Kevin and Michael, I just want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing some of these experiences, personal experiences. But I also want to remind our viewers to go to our website, www.sfimss.org, and come and sign up for this class. It's going to be awesome. It's an 8-week course starting Tuesday, April 20th. So are there any last thoughts that you guys want to share before we head out?
No, I'm just looking forward to helping other people and help them to discover their full potential.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kevin. Great to see you, Michael.
You bet.
Next time. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.